Hey everybody, it's Pastor Lillard from Emmanuel. This is the next part of our series, Giving Up. During Lent, we're giving up different things, not necessarily food, but we're giving up things that perhaps get in the way of our relationship with God and other people. This week, it's giving up enemies. And so I have a little wry smile on my face because as I just wrote in my sermon just a few minutes ago, I always try to preach to myself first. That it's not the idea that I have this all figured out and just, by the way, follow me, because we always follow Jesus. But when I was thinking about giving up enemies, I thought about, of course, we have personal enemies, but we also have enemies of the spirit. We have enemies that are food, or we have enemies that not exercising. And so my mind was just kind of spinning around thinking, well, I don't know how many enemies I have. And then I started thinking, well, I have a few. Um, Clashes along the way, feelings have been hurt. And of course, I haven't even thought about the people that I have hurt as well, and maybe consider me to be their enemy because of what I've said or not said, or did or not done. You see how confusing this is? So I'm giving you some fodder to think about, that how much energy and how much emotion do we spend thinking about, wondering about, wishing that things would happen a certain way with our enemies. And I'm being honest because if we're going to be honest, there have been people who trespassed against us. And it is easy to hang on, and it is hard to let go. So I'm not going to give you any answers now because it's taping on Monday and it's a deep subject. But I'm going to ask you to think about this week, how much time, how much energy, how much value of our everyday life do we place upon those who we consider enemies, or the people with whom, there's discord? How much better would our life be if we handed it to God, took it up with God, asked God to help and guide us, and took the necessary steps to take that off the ledger? Whether it be food, whether it be alcohol, whether it be strife within your family, or an opposition with somebody else. This is not me to tell you what to do. This is for me to read the good book, and when Jesus says, love your enemies. And what part of that don't we understand? And what does that mean? Does that mean that we have to barbecue? Does that mean that we have to go out to a movie? I don't think so. I'll give you that. But I want you to think about this week, the people with whom you have some friction, and they with you, and they with me, and how we might put that to rest and give that up, and then leave time and space and heart, mind, and soul for good things, for right things, for the things of God. Think about it. Pray about it. We'll see you on Sunday. Be well. God bless.
Thank you, Pastor Lillard, for that inspiring word. As part of the sermon series, this one lifts up giving up enemies. That's what we're lifting up here during these Lenten season. Giving up enemies. And this one's a tough one, because to give them up, you first have to identify them. Who are my enemies? And here Jesus is clear, especially on the Sermon on the Mount, that we are to love our enemies. There's almost the recognition in Jesus's mandate that we have them. And I know that's the first tough step, I think, with this topic is, are we willing to identify enemies? Are we willing to admit I've got an enemy? And that might be someone you know, someone who's a competitor in business, someone who's tried to undermine you. It might be politically, someone on the other side of the aisle, so to speak, someone in another political party, or you see as a threat to the good order of the United States. I mean, enemies can come in all shapes and sizes. Now, our text is Luke 19:37-44. Here, Jesus is coming into Jerusalem. He's coming in as a victorious king, riding on a donkey. And here we've got enemies. I mean, the Pharisees are coming after him. Even the Romans now have plots. They see that Jesus is disturbing the order, and some see him as a religious threat. Some see him as a political threat. What is he to do? And interestingly, in this text, he weeps over Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem is going to contain the people who call for his death, who call for his murder, who call for taking him out of the equation altogether. He knows this. He knows what he's walking into, and yet he weeps over Jerusalem, saying these very tender words. I wish I could, like a hen, gather you all under my wings. If you had only recognized that God had sent me for your salvation, but instead, I've become your enemy. And so here we hear Jesus reacting in love to those who want to kill him. It's a complex story. It's a beautiful story. We know he says from the cross, Lord, Father, don't punish those who put me up here. They don't know what they are doing. Very complex. And so we're going to use this text again from Luke 19 of giving up enemies, using this beautiful story, this beautiful Lenten story as Jesus is moving now to the cross, to lift up some of the complexities of those, yes, enemies that we have around us. And how do we, rooted in our faith in Jesus Christ, the one who was humble even to death on the cross, who gave his life for us and even for his enemies. Thanks for joining us on this Lectionary Plus. See you on Sunday. Bye-bye now.